Hey everyone, R Cubed here, and in this video I'm going to teach you guys how to make a simple Python game, Tic-Tac-Toe. So without further ado, let's get right into it. First off, I'd like to thank all of you for 100 subscribers. It really means a lot to me, and if you're new, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Let's get to our next goal of 150 subscribers. I'm now going to show you guys what the game looks like when you're done with it. When you have the file saved as a Python file and you run it, it'll open up the Python shell. As you can see, it's telling us, welcome to Tic-Tac-Toe. Do you want to be X or O? So in this case, I'm just going to say X. It randomly determines whether the player will go first or the computer will go first. So in this case, we got to go first. So it's asking us what our next move is. So here, you can see the board. The board consists of 9 squares or tiles, in which the player or the computer decides where it wants to put their X or O. They're numbered 1 through 9, so the first box in the top left will be 1, and so on, and the one in the bottom right will be 9. So I'm just going to put in 5, the very middle tile. Press enter, and now the computer will make a response. We can keep going like this until a winner is determined. So as you can see, I just put in some random stuff, and now the computer has beaten us. It tells us whether we won or if we lost, and it asks us if we want to play again. So now we can type in yes or no, and it'll start over again. So now, let's begin step 2, downloading the program. So I'm going to leave a link in the description which you can download. In the top right, hover over this menu right here, and just click on the download. It'll download the file, and once you're in your File Explorer, you can run the program by double-clicking on it. So now I'm going to go an overview of what the code is like. Now that we've taken a look at what the game looks like when it's done, we've tested the game out, we've downloaded it, and we figured out how to run it. Let's take a look at some of the game AI, the code, and some of the algorithms that are used in the computer AI. So let's get right into it. So let's first start with the computer AI. This consists of 5 main steps. The first step being making a winning move. If the computer can win, then it wins the game, so the game is over. The second step will be to block the other player's winning move. Now this will prevent the other player from winning, and there's a possibility that you can win in that event. Once it's followed those 2 steps, then it needs to decide where to make a move. It'll either move in the corner, move on the center, or move on side. Now that we've taken a look at the AI, let's get into some of the algorithms and code. Now, let's go into the AI's algorithm. So, for the first step, it's seeing if there's a move the computer can make that will win the game. If there is, make that move. Otherwise, go to step 2. So this is following the game AI, except making an algorithm and expanding on this idea a little more. So step 2 is to see if there's a move that the player can make that will cause the computer to lose the game. If there is, move there to block the player. Otherwise, go to step 3. Step 3 is to check if any of the corner spaces 1, 3, 7, or 9, are free. If so, move there. If no corner space is free, go to step 4. Step 4. Check if the center is free. If so, move there. If it isn't, go to step 5. Step 5 is to move on any of the side spaces 2, 4, 6, or 8. There are no more steps because if all the side spaces are taken, all the center spaces are taken, and all the corner spaces are taken, that means it's a tie. Now, let's take a look at the code. Now let's look at the function isSpaceFree. The reason why we do this is so the player can't just keep putting slots in a specific spot, such as putting a multiple x's in space 1, as that just doesn't work. So here, we return true if the passed move is free on the passed board. So remember that the free spaces in the board are marked as a single space string. As we can see here, we have the single space string, and we can even check that inside the game. Up here on the board, each of these slots is a single space. The next function is to get the player's move. We let the player type in their move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9. If the space is not free, then it doesn't let them do that. So, for example, if they choose 1 and then they choose 1 again, it'll just print what is your next move anyway, and it won't actually mark it. Now we define choose random move from list. This will help us return a valid move from the passed list on the passed board. It will return none if there is no valid move. So if there is no spots remaining on the board, it'll return none. Now we start looking at the computer's moves and the computer's boards. Our next function is getComputerMove. GetComputerMove utilizes all the things that we talked about in our game AI and our computer's algorithms. So as you can see here, at first we determine whether the computer's letter is X or O. And at the beginning, we also determined whether the player's letter is X or O. Now we start going through the tic-tac-toe game AI. First, it starts the step by checking if it can make a move that can win the game. Then it tries to make a move that can block the other player. It checks if the other player could win on its next move. Then it tries to take one of the corners if they are free. And as you can see here, we're choosing a random move from the list 1, 3, 7, or 9. And if we look at the tic-tac-toe board, 1, 3, 7, and 9 are all the corners. Now it looks to check if the center is free. Is space free board, 5? As you can see, it's taking in those parameters that we talked about earlier that we worked on, like the board, the letters, and all the other spaces. Lastly, we choose if the board is full, and then we can check if the game is over and it's been a tie. Now, we start the actual game. As you can see here, we're printing welcome to tic-tac-toe, and we start a while loop. When it's starting by saying welcome to tic-tac-toe, the while loop detects if there's... As you can see at the end, we're running one entire while loop to execute the entire game. We're running while true. And what is true? Well, true is determined whether by the board is full. As you can see here in this previous function, is board full. We returned a value of false or true. So first, we reset the board by creating a new board. And as you can see, as we're going, we're running all of the functions that we defined earlier. So player letter, computer letter, the turns, and all the other functions. We start running the game's and the computer's turns. We start running if the player is winning, and we're using a lot of checking and all other algorithms to see if the game has been played correctly. At the end, we're checking the computer's turn. We're running the computer algorithm that we coded here. And the same thing applies for the player, except for the player, we're using all the functions we defined earlier. At the very end, our last piece of code is asking if they want to play again. Here, we have a break, and break will just stop the program. As you can see here, the board and the game will keep running while this is true. So until the board is not free, we'll keep repeating this again and again and again. So this was our tutorial for the tic-tac-toe game. So that's it for today's video. I hope you guys learned a lot about how to code a new Python game, tic-tac-toe. And if you want to see more of these tutorials in the future, make sure to give this video a thumbs up and also leave a comment on which games and other programs you want to see in the future. Thank you all for watching and tune in next time for the next video.